I'm talking about it from my perspective as an Indian. And I'm not saying it's just directed at Indians. It is directed at Malays, at Chinese, at Punjabis, everyone. Deep down, somebody always says something racist.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can be at the top of the world and people still only see race, not your criteria, not your qualification.
So for our first discussion that we'll have on this channel, I have a good friend of mine. His name is Purshotaman, but I call him Pursho. Thank you for being and accepting the invitation to be on the channel. Pursho is a fellow lawyer. He and I, we have worked on a few matters together, and he's always given me some insightful stuff. I know I'm blowing the horn a little bit, but he's worth for it. He has his own YouTube channel where he gives legal commentaries on like certain relevant issues that we are facing. It's called Legal Sindanagal, and he does it in beautiful Sin Tamil. He also has been invited to give his thoughts on certain events, certain perspectives on certain radio stations like FM, etc., etc. So, Pusho, thank you for accepting and welcome to the channel.
Which is mine. Anyway, first of all, congrats to you, Cassian, on your new venture. Hope to feature more episodes and stuff.
Thank you. So do you feel honored to be the first guest that I ever thought of?
So I am the first guest. Yes, definitely. I'm very honored to be, and a lot of pleasure because to be the first ever person. Yeah. Thank you.
I was just pulling your leg. Okay, it's quite fitting that you're wearing your Man United jersey and I'm wearing my Arsenal jersey.
How is the Scottish team treating you?
Well, that was horrible. But everyone seems to say that it's just a preseason. But honestly, Arsenal being Arsenal, I have my doubts. Anyway, before we digress, it's quite fitting that we're speaking about sports and wearing our sports jerseys. Today, as you know, there's a lot of racism in highlight, under spotlight, especially after the Euros 2020 finals. So I was thinking that maybe we could have a conversation about it, right? So before we begin, I know that you were all over your social media. You're a big England fan. So go on, tell us, give us a little bit of a filler. How was your Euro 2020?
I think it was a great Euro for me personally because I've been an England fan since I saw Beckham for the first time.
Where did you see him?
About 19. No. I mean, in TV.
Okay.
First time I was introduced to David Beckham, so probably around 1998. From then, I followed every club, MU, England, and everything. And since then, I've always felt like England has never fully reached its potential. There was the golden generation with Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, and all of them, and still they couldn't do anything. And then in this particular Euro, pretty much people would say they were handed in a platter because out of the 8 games or 7 games they had to play, 90% was in Wembley, yet couldn't win it. Yeah, but I felt like boys did really well considering the age of these players and all that. They were extremely confident. They finished the job well, and some would say it's a very boring game and all that. I just thought the most important thing is to win, and they won, and they only conceded 2 goals in the entire tournament. Beautiful, except for what happened after the final.
Yeah, correct. I mean, just going off on what you said, retrospectively, I think England did really well. For a team that only conceded 2 goals and to have lost the title, it just says so much about the team. And personally, I feel Gareth Southgate, although throughout the tournament, he was slacked off for making wrong choices or having a very boring English team. But when you look at that English team, just like what you said, there was a star-studded team with Beckham, Lampard, Gerrard, and all that, right? This team it was basically star-studded throughout. But to have to be daring enough to put people like Rashford, Sancho, all these star players on the bench, that says a lot. Grealish on the bench, that says a lot. And to be honest, yeah, I do believe that England did really well, bar what happened in the finals. So before we go to the finals, right? Um, before we go to the results of the finals, I would like to ask you: do you think Gareth Southgate did a mistake by his lineup for the penalty takers, or did you think the mistake lied on the boys' shoulders, the boys who missed?
Yeah, I would think that I pretty much love Southgate throughout the tournament. Who he fielded, his vision and all that. But the only problem I had with him was during the penalty take, introducing Rashford and Sancho there, because it's a final and it's a huge pressure on the shoulders of the players, and you don't introduce people to go in and take a penalty kick. You have to introduce people who have already played in the game. They've already felt at least about 30 to 40 minutes of the pressure of the entire game, the atmosphere, the crowd cheering you while you touch the ball and all that, or booing you when you're touching the ball, either way. And then when you go to the penalty take, already know what's at stake. I mean, definitely these players would know what's at stake, but you've already grown into the game. When you just walk in and then you go into a do or die situation, it's going to be extremely difficult. Even the most professional players, not to say professional, even the most expert players would miss the chance. Even people like Beckham, who was at one point the dead ball specialist in the world, missed penalties. That's how much pressure there is. And for you to be putting in Rashford and Sancho as the worst of all, the must-win ball to Saka. I don't know if I should put it on Southgate entirely or on other senior players who did not step up, like Sterling or even Grealish. Telling the boy, like what Roy Keane said should be when the senior players should have said, "No, let me go and finish the job." Or because they know if he doesn't finish the job, he's going to be the scapegoat. And so I think Southgate was also at fault there. And the last one, probably even the senior players should have stepped up. Yeah.
You brought up Roy Keane. I think Jack Grealish, he tweeted the next day in response to what Roy Keane said, and he said, "Look, I said that I was going to take the penalty kick, but I was not allowed to be or I was not given the opportunity to do it by Gareth Southgate. But he said, I respect the manager's decision." So what I think is, definitely Sterling or Grealish should have taken the kick. Definitely should have. But there is a possibility that in the training, while they were practicing shootouts, definitely they did. Saka, Rashford, Sancho, they might have buried 10 out of 10. The goals, So that might have been it. But then again, me personally, I'm a huge Saka fan. As you can see, I'm an Arsenal fan, and we know what he's been doing for some time now. And it's great that the whole England are seeing it now, what he is. Unfortunately, he's been marred by such a catastrophe in this sport. I think Ozil put it best. If I score, I'm a national hero. But if I don't score, I'm
an immigrant.
Correct. Yeah. So it's ridiculous what actually turned out, because did you see what Saka posted? He had like a week off. I was really itching to see what he would say.
Just a few hours ago, right? Yeah.
And in that statement, he said the moment he missed that ball, he knew that he's going to be getting some racial attacks. That is hurtful, for a 19-year-old boy. Little did you know, this boy is actually like a straight A's kid. Smart fellow, achieving well. And honestly, sorry, I would like to speak on a little bit. When I was watching the game, every one of us were tweeting, right? Every one of us were tweeting. And when I saw the game, and when I saw Saka miss the ball and I saw his face, immediately what came to mind was what happened with Beckham. If you remember Beckham 1998 World Cup, he did a stupid foul, and he was in the height of his prime, right? Stupid foul, got sent off.
Against Diego Simon.
Yes. And that whole time after that, he was getting attacked. This is not racial, but he was attacked crazily. And so for the qualifiers of the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup, right? he scored the goal that shook the world. That's what it was touted as.
Yeah.
So that's
Against
when
Greece,
everybody, right? So then that's when everybody started looking at him as like this hero again. So I was thinking about it from that perspective. He's going to be attacked. Saka is going to be attacked. But I didn't think for a second about the racial aspect. And then I also follow these guys on AFTV, and one of the characters on it is DT. And I saw DT immediately tweeted, "Oh no, look, he's going to be racially attacked after this." So that's when it hit me. This is going to happen. True enough, within minutes, people were already tweeting from Wembley. People are being attacked. Italians were attacked. People outside, and the racial slurs. I was watching some of the live recordings in the stadium itself. The moment he missed, that's it. You could hear it in the distance. You could hear it. So it's ridiculous how these people are. They go from one moment united as a nation. It's coming home. It's coming home, and the next thing, just that. But I want to ask you: is it fair that we are just looking at? Yeah, England is a footballing nation. They are very different. They're very hyper. They're very rowdy, right? But is it fair to say that this only exists in England and not anywhere else? The reaction, the racist reaction.
Because the right now England is at the spotlight, but at the same time, about England fans. They have another. They're notoriously known as hooligans as well. Wherever they travel in big packs for any of the competitions, and when things don't go their way, things get kind of ugly. And as you said, every time England gets kicked out from a major tournament, there is a scapegoat. And that particular scapegoat, no matter how young he is, he faces this trauma for the next few months until his club fans start supporting him, bringing him, giving him the confidence. That's when they come back. But just like what I just wanted to comment on what you said about DT, right? I was watching his interview after that. Actually, he even after he tweeted that, he was in a pub in London, if I'm not mistaken. He was actually scared to go back home because of the type of attack he's gonna get. So that's such a shitty feeling to have in your own country where you were born and you feel that something you're not safe anymore. But like what you said, it's not a problem that's only specific to English or English fans. It's something that happened in other countries. For example, if in Spain, a few years ago, Spanish team, even the same England team, I think Sean Wright Phillips and not sure who's the other one, they had the same issue in the stadium. Their Spanish coach was extremely racist and everything. And only later on, the Spanish Football Association, they actually, fined him and all that. So it's not something specific to one particular nation, but of course, right now, England is at the limelight because of the fact it has been happening. As an England fan, I know I have been disappointed not with the team but with the fans throughout. The way they were booing at the national anthem of the other countries, the way they were booing at the players taking the knee for against racism and all that. It was all actions that were uncalled for, and this was just the shittiest of the shit.
Correct. Yeah. Then another thing about this, taking the knee, right? They've been doing it since last season. All the games. So what is that about? Does that amount to anything? So what is it? Just a symbology? Just kneel down. It doesn't have any effect. I mean, I'm not bashing into the practice of something that is actually, proper to be highlighted, end racism. All colors, all whatever, end it. But if it's going to be something that is touted and just made out of like a product,
service.
Correct. What is the point? What is the point? Yeah, it's correct. You say lip service. You know who does this? Everyone kneels down on the ground, kneels down one foot, and then Black Lives Matter. They raise a hand or whatever, right? Barcelona does it. Griezmann. You see where I'm going with this? Griezmann, Dembele. They do it.
Yeah.
While everybody was singing "It's Coming Home" and getting crazy and all that, it may have gotten lost in the news. But you and I had a conversation about it. The whole Griezmann and Dembele the Snapchat being leaked. This was the 2019 clip, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
to those of you who are watching and you have no idea what are we talking about, in 2019, Barcelona had made a trip to Japan. It was one of their pre-season tours. And Griezmann and Dembele, Ousmane Dembele, they are the best of friends. They go everywhere together, right? And so they were sitting in their hotel room and they were getting ready to play Pro Evolution Soccer, PES. PES is made by Konami, a Japanese company, right? So they're sitting down and they have no idea how to plug in their PS4 into the hotel system. So they have to get the Japanese guys who are working in the hotel to come and help them fix it. So while they were fixing and they were having a conversation among themselves, like and they're obviously speaking Japanese in a very heated way, Dembele starts to record a story and says, what kind of disgusting language they're speaking. And he said that to Griezmann. And that's fine. That is racism. What is that about? So when that was leaked recently, they were literally forced to make an apology. And I can't remember exactly what they were saying because what their apology, it sounded half-hearted at best. So then Konami, hearing this happening, Konami actually sponsors Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann is the face, the spokesperson for Yu-Gi-Oh! The cards. So they retracted their sponsorship. He's no longer the face anymore, right? And he came out and made an apology and all that thing was happening. So it's not fine, and just because it's swept under the rug, that does not mean it's not there. And where is the filter? Where does it stop? And kids viewing this, Griezmann and Dembele, they are star players. They are, right. Kids look up to them, What is the kind of message that you put out? What's your take on this? Am I rambling off?
No. I think it's true. It's if it happens to you, you take it seriously, and then you go and do it on other people. It's so hypocritical, and to merely do a PR stunt, apologize for the sake of apologizing, and then because these guys think they are millionaires, billionaires. You want to pay fine? Okay, it's okay. Because of the fact that they don't take it so seriously, they just take it as a PR gone bad. Let's fix it. That's why I think people just will just pay a fine and walk off kind of thing. And when players do it themselves, and players are okay with doing it, and then they go and take a knee for racism, or wear an armband, let's kick racism, let's show red card to racism. They don't feel or don't preach it, then it's going to be so. It's going to be a baseless thing. Fans are just going to do it because players are doing it anyway. And yeah, so I think it should have more meat. If you're going to come with campaigns and all that, it should have more meat, more tooth to bite. Because if players like this do it, just ban them or suspend them for a whole year. That's when you take a serious stand. There was another thing I was thinking about it. Racism has been there for a long time. Okay, since the times of Jesse Owens, I think in 1936, he was a white-black player, a white-black runner. He won at the Olympics, I think, 4 gold medals. And then Hitler, in his appreciation speech, congratulated the other German players because he wanted to show German, superior, and they could win the Olympics. But this guy came, broke the record like it was no one's business, and Hitler totally ignored this particular guy because he was black. And it has been there since a long time, and I'm pretty sure it was there even before that. And just that documented, probably this is a very famous incident. It's going to be continue to be here unless the football association, the players, the club take it very seriously. Just look at the Super League issue that was taking place last season, right? The fans were bashing their own clubs. What happened in Old Trafford. What Spurs did and all that. All this happened within hours. Things went back to normal. The necessary football association were condemning the acts. Some changes were made and all that because it involves billions. It involves money. It involves fans and all that. Why isn't the same thing happening to racism? Because it's racism doesn't cost anything. It just offend that particular minority people. So be it. It's not going to cost my pocket. So they're not going to give their full-hearted effort into it. That's what I think. What do you think, Vision?
I agree. Because you see, Griezmann, you know what is happening on the news right now? If you Google him, he's in a swap deal to go back to Atletico.
Yep.
That's what's on the news.
Yeah.
What happened? This was literally just last week. Isn't this a bigger news? You know?
Yeah.
So what? We're worried about a guy who, it does not make sense. You know, the plight of a bigger thing that is moral, moral. This is something that is going to last. If that is something that is just overlooked for something that is more financially based, then it's something for us to look at ourselves and figure out what is wrong. What is wrong with the system, So now I'm going to bring it back home, right? Racism, yes. Racism in sports in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Before we begin, last time when I was in school, I went to a Sekolah Kebangsaan, a Malay school, right? And it was, when I say Malay, it doesn't mean it's Malay, it's everybody's there, and this is like one of the best memories. Yes, national school, correct. And if you know, Sekolah Kebangsaan are the best, right? You have so much of memories there, everything. But of course, being at such a young age, when maybe I was 8, 9, 10, and when you would go out for sports and all that, right? The K word, the derogatory word that is used towards Indians, it was thrown around at me so many times. And I cannot tell you how it makes you feel, It makes you feel small for something that you're born into. And at that point, I didn't understand. None of us did, until we are bigger now. And now you can say the word 10 times to me, it's not going to affect me, because it's just a word. But back then, it was said in a derogatory form, right? And you and I both know, as much as we say, we're above and beyond it now. This stuff still happens. Although you don't hear it as much, it still happens now. I'm talking about it from my perspective as an Indian. And I'm not saying it's just directed at Indians. It is directed at Malays, at Chinese, at Punjabis, everyone. Deep down, somebody always says something racist. And that comes down to the awareness, right? So sports. I think it was last year, right? March 2020. Yeah, March 2020.
Correct.
Our B. Satyanathan, the technical director and coach of the Selangor team, the Red Giants, I think they call themselves. Apparently, he fielded too many Indian players, I'm not sure how many. He fielded too many Indian players, and he was racially abused, verbally abused and all that after the game. So much so that he was so worried about his own safety and his family's safety because he got that much of threat that he had to make a police report. Let me ask you, as an athlete or as a person in that elite level, right? You're a coach of a state team, Is it fair that you be discriminated in this way based on race?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can be at the top of the world and people still only see race, not your criteria, not your qualification. I mean, this guy is not someone who's coaching a school team. He's one of the best in the country. If he's there, he's one of the best. And do you really think he's got there because he chose people of his own skin color, or if it was favoritism or anything? It's gonna be tactics and all that. And just because when the team does well, he's a hero. Like what you say, when the team doesn't do well, suddenly all kind of illogical things come up. Okay, I understand banter. All of us have gone through that. A player is so shitty. Harry Maguire, I hated him for a long time. Now he's good. But whenever he plays or whenever he does something down, and I attack how he plays. And most true supporters, attack how their players play and all that. You don't go on a personal level. You don't go to their skin or to their family, and that's just not someone who believes in the beautiful game. It's something else. It's just something wrong somewhere with you. That's what I think.
when we speak about racism in sports, especially Malaysia, right? The beauty of Misbun Sidi training Lee Chong Wei, and Lee Chong Wei being the champion that he is now, that's a beautiful story,
There was a school in JB where they were segregated. A particular race can only play a particular sport. Like Chinese can only play basketball, and then Indians have to play something like that. And it became viral, and thankfully many went against that. And even the I think the Crown Prince of Johor also condemned that action and all that. And of course, that should be the way. The reaction was right, but even I can't even brain someone thinking of putting that on paper and thinking, this is good. This is a good plan. Let's execute it. What was the guy's thought process? And I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been one guy making the decision. It would have been a collective decision. What was going on in their mind? What did they think when they were speaking about it? I can't honestly brain their mindset in the situation. You were saying about Lee Chong Wei. I remember at that time but at that particular time, Malaysia was a bit down. As in, there were a lot of issues happening politically and all that, and we were not we were not having a good name in the newspapers, and that's when Lee Chong Wei, I think he won something. I forgot. I totally forgot, and the whole country was just behind him, and then we were divided. I remember the quote: "Divided by politics, united by Lee Chong Wei," and that should be the way, because no one saw him as a Chinese guy playing, or an outsider playing. It's just a Malaysian playing. He's carrying the Malaysian flag. He has the Malaysian crest on his heart. That should be the way, and that's the beauty of sports. It gives you the dream, a small kid can think that one day I'll be there. Someone playing futsal, just among us, we are 30, almost in our 30s and all that, and when we play, we feel like, oh, I want to play like this fella, like that fella. It makes you dream, and especially for smaller boys and all these, or girls, when they're playing. And speaking of girls, I just remembered, I forgot her name. She's a Tottenham player on the women's game. I think last year when they had a game, and she went to go and take a corner kick. One of the other players from the opposition actually made the monkey noise at her. And at first it didn't hit her, and then later on it hit her, and at halftime she was so broken and all that. And later on they lodged a complaint, and the player was also suspended or something. So it's not something exclusive to men's football. It happens all across the board. And coming back to the point, if it's going to be so racially challenged, discriminated, or many people are discriminated, then they come up, then they get racially abused. There's going to be a lot of people, a lot of small kids who don't even want to get into sports, because they would feel like, what's the point? Like what you say, Saka, he didn't have a good journey towards here. Sterling, he has been with that hashtag boy from Brent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Something he kept on hashtagging that. That boy, if he knew this was going to happen, he wouldn't have chose this path. Probably made him millions, but he's not going to live. What is it? And speaking of Sterling, it's so hypocritical of the fans, of these particular fans. He's the guy who got them into finals. This particular black guy got you to the finals with all the goals. That time he was a hero, and then suddenly 3 guys missed that entire.
Just speaking off on that point, another person who has been very vocal about racism in football is Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry has gone on so many shows and spoken about racism. I think he went on the Graham Norton show. It's this British guy has a talk show, and when he was speaking about what he faced, like people throwing bananas at him when he goes to the corner kick, or people spitting at him, and this happened in the 2004, 2005, and all these kind of things. It happened then. But when he was saying, the crowd was laughing at him as if it's not true. So that's another thing where it's like it is treated as if like the boy cried wolf. It's not taken seriously. But that's back then, lah.
Yeah, but now, since this particular issue is in highlight, it actually shows the world that this is a real issue, and it's not like a third world kind of issue, because people do look up to countries like UK and US thinking they're the best. And when things can go wrong like this, online abuses, and then you know what happened to Rashford's picture, the mural,
Yes.
people wrote the N word and all that. Things can happen in first world countries like that. That's when it's a wake up call to many others. It's not something exclusive because they like to push it away as a third world country kind of mentality. So people
Yeah.
who are not civilized and all that. But look at what's happening. The best is behaving like this. Yeah.
Correct. And I think quite recently Boris Johnson, he mentioned it in the parliament, right?
Yeah.
About the what was it called again? The online harassment bill, is it?
Online harm bill, if I'm not mistaken.
Online harms bill. And what is it about? Do you?
It's basically because Boris Johnson has been getting a lot of criticism after this issue came into light because of a few things. He has made some sexist, racist remarks in the past, but also mainly because he refused to condemn England fans for booing the players who took the knee. His idea was, you have your right to peacefully protest if you don't want to support this knee for racism kind of thing. But that's where it led to, because when if you didn't condemn that particular part, an extension of that rowdy behavior is this particular thing that happened to these three players. And now the opposition and many people are pointing the finger at Boris Johnson, saying you are also answerable, you are also responsible because you didn't take a hard stance. And now Boris Johnson has come and said that he's going to introduce an online arms bill to legislate racism online. So how it would work is he has met with the major people in Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter to also ensure that racist or hate speech is actually removed from their platform if it's posted. And if not, then the bill would fine 10% of their global revenue. So, if, for example, there's a comment on Facebook, it's found there. Facebook would be fined 10% of their global revenue and all that. So of course it's a good thing. There's something that DT also told. That's the guy, right? The guy spoke.
Yeah.
The Arsenal. Yeah. The DT guy. It's a sound thing, but he would believe when it's actually in place, no? and he does his work. So that's the thing. And another thing also, how when you post something on Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or wherever, something that infringes copyright of any big artist and all that, you immediately the system removes your particular entire song or removes your entire that particular posting. So it's because that involves money and all that. So if the system, Facebook and Twitter and all these people have that system to immediately recognize and take it down, why aren't they doing the same thing for racism and hate speech? Because pretty much it's the same. It causes harm. One is stealing someone's intellectual property. Another one is causing or abusing someone. So, is there
stealing someone's dignity? Yeah,
exactly. Is there a political will to do that?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a bit on Malaysia's stance in this, though not many have been reported. We all know that, like Malaysia, throughout the world, racism is very much alive. Although now, as opposed to what it was last time, people are more aware of it. People tend to condemn it, It is not accepted. Generally, it's not accepted. But there's this small group of people who is just ruining it for everyone. That's happening in England. That's what happened in England. And that's happening everywhere else, right? So now we're seeing the parliament, the English parliament, they're trying to do something about it. The government, they're trying to do something about it. Do you think such a bill or such a rule or such a law is needed in Malaysia? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. But because I read somewhere within 2023, Malaysia is expected to have an estimated 29.4 million online users by 2023, about 2 years from now. And you need proper laws to regulate these users, because hate speech is everywhere, not in sports only. some guy can post something, and then that politics, you can be against a particular politician, and their cyber troopers can come in here and do that. It's everywhere. And Malaysia, I mean, some people can say, is it as prevalent, as serious as it is in other countries? I mean, so far, you guys only quoted one particular case, but you don't know the full extent of it. Pandalena Renong, she's a Malaysian superstar. She gets bashed all the time just because of how she dresses up and all that. So it's happening, it's there. It's just that people are not opening their eyes to the seriousness of it. So the government has to take a more serious stance, because it's not something that only affects sport, it's also affecting politics, it's affecting, everywhere. Celebrities, everyone is getting this stage speech and all that. So, with 29.45 million users coming up, if it's unregulated, it's just going to be haywire, and we are going to be embarrassing ourselves in the eyes of the world.
Okay, let's let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, hopefully.
So next year, is it coming home?
I won't tell. Let us go through that. I won't think it. The only time I say it's coming home was when on final.
But this time around, everybody believed it. Like really, even I believed.
Yeah.
But I really think England is going to put up a good fight next World Cup. But don't want to say anything too early. Anything can happen anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pusho, I enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for accepting. We had some
Thank you for having me again, Cassian.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for having me here.
We had some insightful discussion. So hopefully our paths cross again on this platform in the future.
Yeah. Hopefully you call me for another interesting topic.
Okay. Good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.